Well, this is All Out Politics, news, debate and opinion from the heart of Westminster. European Union foreign ministers are meeting today to discuss the ongoing crisis in the Middle East. This comes as President Trump has urged Brussels to abandon the Iranian nuclear deal, with Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban calling on the bloc to align itself with the US. So can the EU maintain a united front on Iran? Joining me to discuss that from Berlin is Olaf Bunker, who is a senior director at the political consultancy Rasmussen Global. Here in Westminster, I'm joined by the French-Algerian journalist, writer and broadcaster Nabila Ramdani. Nice to see you. Mr Bunker, is there any chance that the European Union, and indeed Britain is still a member and at this meeting, might actually do what Hungary wants?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a pivotal moment for EU foreign policy when everyone over the weekend realized that this is a make or break moment. Either we will be ignored for the time being or we make a difference. And the soft power of the EU, of course, didn't look so much convincing when the weapons were talking. But now, since everyone is so eager to see de-escalation, so that's maybe the moment for the EU. And in this regard, they cannot take sides. I think the only chance for EU foreign policy is to mediate between all the various parties in the region. And we're not talking about just Iran, but it's also with the Iraqi government, and also Libya is on the agenda for the foreign ministers meeting today.
And how would that sort of mediation be carried out? Obviously, the JCPOA is not an EU agreement. It's an agreement with sovereign governments, the UK and Germany and France, amongst others.
Yeah, I think the convening power of the EU is the key in this moment. So it's really about activating, mobilizing all forces we have, convening meetings to talk. So I think talking is the only solution the EU can offer right now. But it's maybe not the worst one, having seen also the incident of the plane, the Ukrainian plane shot down by accident. So therefore, I think everyone realized this is a really, really crucial moment. And the EU, if they really do it in the right way by convening meetings with the Russians, with the Chinese, for instance, who are also part of the JCPOA agreement, to come up with a comprehensive incentive package for Iran actually to stay with the nuclear deal and not to leave as they announced. Because if Iran will leave, so the card is now with the Iranians and Tehran. But if they don't take the offer of the EU right now, then it's Trump and only Trump actually who makes the decisions. And then this is calling for more escalation than anything else.
Nabila Ramdani, is this just if you like, a happy circumstance where the national interests of Germany, France and the UK are all pulling in the same direction, so Europe is united?
Well, I think the first thing to say is that the possibility of an all-out war being triggered in the region looked extremely high on Monday night. And when you hear about ballistic missiles being fired in the direction of an airbase containing American troops, then the word emergency is certainly appropriate. Now, thankfully, that emergency has subsided. But as always, tensions are always rife in the Middle East. And the crisis, dare I say, extended far beyond Donald Trump's Twitter account, with two historically war-minded countries apparently on a collision course. And one shouldn't underestimate that.
I mean, both sides taking aggressive action.
Well, absolutely. And I think the extremely fraught relations between Washington and Tehran are of particular concern. And it's absolutely right that EU foreign ministers should be holding emergency talks. And I don't think there's a great deal of respect for Donald Trump amongst any world leaders, not least of all in the EU. And they certainly believe that his decision to assassinate Soleimani was misguided, not just because of the killing, but also because of the means.
But in a sense now we've got a balance of mistakes almost, haven't we? We've got this dreadful shooting down of the airliner, apparently. So both sides can say they've learnt their lessons.
Well, the truth is we don't really know what caused this horrific tragedy, but the appalling loss of civilian lives is, of course, the typical of the kind of wars that occur in the Middle East. And it's even more of a reason to resolve this crisis and indeed prevent it from escalating further. But I think that EU foreign ministers would have a more conciliatory approach in its dealings with Iran. They will, I sense, more sensitivity and indeed interest in winning hearts and minds rather than focusing on never-ending war. And specifically, there's a great deal of concern about the 2015 Iran nuclear deal being completely destroyed. The truth is Iran has further distanced itself from the deal, saying that it won't place any limits on its uranium enrichment program, although it will still cooperate with the International Atomic Agency. But the deal has been on the brink of collapse since Trump withdrew support, and so bolstering it is more important than ever.
So do you think it might actually suit the United States for the Europeans to take this role? Because Donald Trump in the past, I mean, he doesn't like the JCPOA agreement because it came from Barack Obama, but he might be open to repackaging, if you like.
Yeah, that's maybe the toughest challenge for the EU. It's not the Iranians, but it's really how to deal with this U.S. president who's so erratic in his actions and its statements. And indeed, so maybe even the EU has to come to a more challenging conclusion with the U.S. actually how to reframe it. So, and if we remember that Trump also canceled the Mercosur agreement with Mexico just to call it the other day with a different name, but actually the same content. So if something like that will be possible with the Iranian nuclear deal, so let it be. But that's the key challenge for European diplomacy right now, maybe to also negotiate with their partners in Washington how such an alternative nuclear deal could look like.
Thank you both very much indeed. This is All Out Politics. Coming up next.